What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the Prophecy Misfits Podcast. This is episode 115. Bend, spend, and Greenland. Yes, plenty of things to discuss regarding things that bend, people that spend, and what's going on in Greenland. I don't know. That was just off the top of my head. Either way, I'm going to roll with it. Anyways, glad to have you guys here. This is what we do on Tuesdays and Saturdays. We get together and we watch the crazy things that are happening around the world right now, and it is absolutely insane. Plenty of things to discuss. Definitely not lacking in that area of things. But yeah, if this is your first time in, this is what we do. And God has given us the instructions, the command to be watchmen in these last days, to warn people of what is going on, what is to come, and to share the gospel with those to bring... to introduce them to Jesus Christ, the only one that can provide hope, life, and encouragement in these dark times. So, yeah. So if you're new, welcome in. Glad to have you here. Do things differently. We don't do narratives. We don't do bias and all that stuff. And if you're a veteran, well, you know what to do. Juice boxes in the back. So, YouTube is giving me a hard time tonight with their streaming stuff. So hopefully everything is running properly. Yeah, it just did not want to start streaming tonight. Don't know why, but I think it's working. So I apologize for those on the YouTube side if there's any issues. Hopefully we won't have any problems. So, all right. So tonight, Bend, Spend, and Greenland. We got plenty of things to discuss. We're going to be talking a little bit more about what's going on with the Big Bend National Park border wall situation. I kind of reported on that a little bit on Friday. We got some more information. Should be no surprise that there's more Trump corruption involved with that. We also got some things when it comes to spending. When it comes to that side of things, when the border wall, national parks, everything like that, and then some stuff regarding Greenland. But yeah, we'll be talking about Greenland, and Trump is basically greenlit for the company that he's invested in to start drilling in Greenland, even without permission. So we have an interesting situation. That's usually a good start, that the spotlight might be shifting. So we definitely need to keep an eye on that. We also got some stuff. There's a big pharma company called Teva, however you pronounce it. I think it's Teva. They're an Israeli company, and they're in a lawsuit right now, and they're begging the judge to please keep their Israel ties away from the lawsuit. That's, again, whenever it comes to things like that, that's a... two-headed monster. So we'll talk about that. We also got some stuff when it comes to Trump imposing tariffs on generic drugs, which kind of plays a part into that conversation a little bit. DHS is hiring bounty hunters to go and start targeting deported immigrants to get money. Yeah, pretty interesting there. We got an update regarding Trump's BBC or the Trump BBC lawsuit situation. Spoiler alert, he backed down as soon as he was told that he had to release his financials. So, we also got some stuff when it comes to DC projects, national park funding, Big Bend, corruption, donations, business partners, that whole thing. It just never ends. A GOP elections official was arrested for siphoning thousands in public funds. We also get Trump is refusing to rule out a national security emergency for the 2026 elections. Chaos erupts as a Texas county moves to slash polling sites. I've made reference to this before, but we're going to be going over a few news stories that's, again, going over the fact that local governments are starting to wage war and try and silence the people that they, quote unquote, supposedly represent. And this is something that I don't think is being talked about, but I think it should be talked about, because this is not only happening in the United States, but it's happening all around the world, especially in Europe and whatnot, where they're not even listening to local people anymore. And yeah, it just goes to show that it's gone. It's gone. We got to let go. So we got a few stories regarding that whole situation. We also got an update with Flock's FreeForm AI searches. Yeah, we'll talk about that. Flock is not just for cars, everybody, in case you haven't figured that out yet. And then we got Meta, who's serving up AI-generated child ads. We'll talk about that as well. So, plenty of things to discuss. Mr. Clue, no, we do not. Please do not promote or support him in the chat. Appreciate it. Thank you. yeah, no. Anyways, so glad to have you guys here. Jojo Loco's not listening to the locals. That's pretty good. Anyways. I don't know why that's so funny, but it is. All right, good stuff. But yeah, hopefully everybody's having a good week so far. Yeah, hopefully you're doing all right tonight. So let's go ahead and get into some housekeeping, shall we?
Housekeeping?
No, thank you. Sleeping.
Housekeeping?
All right, usual spiel. If you guys can, like, share, subscribe, get this out to as many people as you can. It's not about views, not about butts and seats, but it is about getting the warning out to people and getting people to Jesus. And that is our main goal here. Again, we can talk about all this stuff all we want, but if we're not pointing people towards Jesus and obtaining salvation that you can only get through him, then what on earth are we doing this for? And so that's our goal here, and that's what we attempt to do. YouTube is doing a ducky job of keeping my channel locked down for sure. So please like, share, subscribe. It helps reach those people that need Jesus more than ever. Also follow along on Rumble and Telegram. Those are my backup channels. If I get booted off YouTube, we'll be back up live streaming over on Rumble. Telegram post updates, announcements, and other little things that I can't necessarily put in video format. I throw up on Telegram. So make sure you guys follow along on there. If you'd be so inclined, you can also, and this is the one I recommend, bookmark the WretchedWatchmen.com website. That's your one-stop shop to stay up to date. Everything happening with the Wretched Watchmen world of things. You'll find the latest podcasts and live streams. You'll find the announcement page, the free book download, and then you'll also find that we just added, and we just started doing this past week, is the Prayer Bears Misfit Prayer Ministry. You'll find the Prayer Bears box where you can submit your prayer requests directly through the website that we post every Monday on that. So again, for those who may have missed it, we started the Prayer Bears prayer ministry. We just released our first list on Monday. Ton of requests came through. Obviously, prayer is much needed now more than ever, for sure. So if you have a prayer request, though, two ways that you can do it. During the live streams, you can put it in the chat, prayer in all caps, followed by your prayer request. And then the tools will pick that up, or you can 24/7. The Prayer Bear submit box is available on the website, and that'll go directly to me, and then I can add it to the list on that. So that's available at all times. So if you're needing prayer, or you want to pray for somebody else, or anything like that, feel free to do that. Please only submit it once. I've already had a few people who have submitted the same prayer request like 3 times during 2 live streams and the prayer box. You just need to do it once. We'll get it once. We don't need multiple of them. Kind of makes it hard. So just a little thing on that. Also, big shout out to the tools for taking up the extra work of collecting those prayer requests and sending them to me and everything like that. So I appreciate the tools adding more on. Or the tools stepping up and taking on more responsibility. So appreciate the tools for doing that. So thank you guys for that. And then last but not least, if you guys like to support this channel and what I got going on and all the things that we do, we got donation links down below, CashApp, Venmo, and Give, Send, Go. This channel is not monetized. I don't make anything from ads, views, or anything like that. Again, everything that we do is entirely free. There's nothing that we do that's monetized, paywalled, you have to have a subscription or a membership. There's no, getting extra stuff or anything. Everything that we do is 100% free, exactly as biblical ministry should be, in my opinion, and exactly as the gospel is, which is entirely free as well. So if you want to support that and help keep this going with love offering and whatnot, those links are below. And then prayers are always good too. So thank you guys for those who pray as well to keep this train a-rolling. I appreciate you guys. Again, can't do it without you. And I thank the Lord for all of you, for sure. So thank you. All right. Julie B. question, do we need to do the prayer requests once per week, or does it go on indefinitely? So how I'm going to do it, for some of the prayer requests, it's just kind of a judgment call. I'll kind of look at it and go, okay, this is obviously maybe just like a one-time thing. I'll remove it from the list. Some of them I know for sure is a continuous thing. So if you have a prayer request in there, it's like you have a surgery in 3 weeks and you put in a prayer request, I'll probably keep it on there until I get like word about something like that. So it's going to be kind of a judgment call. If you are wanting to make sure for sure that it stays on every week, you can send in another one the next week to just make sure. But yeah, I'm going to kind of try and feel it out in judgment call on some of these prayer requests. So if you're worried that it might be taken off and you really want to keep it on, nothing wrong with sending in another request the following week. So yeah, that's a good question. That's a good question. So I'm going to try to do my best to make sure that I can feel these things out on that. So, okay. Yeah, if you have any more questions like that, feel free to throw them in, and I'll answer them. I couldn't think of the word answer anyways. Yeah, Not of This World. Update on requests is good to know. Very good. One of you sent in, even you put in a request earlier last week, and then later in the week you sent in an update because there was some things that changed, and I appreciated that because before I put the list out, I was able to kind of update the request a little bit. So yeah, very good for sure. Praise reports. Yeah, and that's another thing too. On the YouTube side of things, I posted on Telegram and YouTube the prayer request list. Post your praise reports or updates on the comment section on that, so we can keep an eye on that as well. So that's always good stuff. Always good stuff. All right. Julie, thanks for coding. Yeah, no problem. Good question. I'm glad you asked that because I'm sure there's some people wondering about that. So yeah. And for the most part, I'm not doing much editing on the requests either. Like, I might kind of clean it up to make it shorter because some of them were like really long. And so I tried to edit it down a little bit for short. So I'm trying to keep it everything that you guys are putting in there. But at the same time, I don't want paragraphs. So I'm just kind of editing it down a little bit. So yeah. All right. Let's go ahead and get into the first thing that we got tonight. We're going to be talking about what's going on in Greenland. It's been a minute. Definitely been a minute. And we're getting some updates. It's one of those things where I think a lot of people have forgotten about it because there's just so much junk going on right now. But I still think Greenland's going to play a part in something in the future regarding the geopolitical power shifting that we are currently seeing right now. And we got updates here. It says Greenland issues a strong warning, quote unquote, strong warning. Yes, I'm going to send a note home to your mother. Issues strong warning as Trump-linked oil firm prepares to drill. Island's government said no approval given after Greenland Energy brings kit ashore for exploratory drilling. Says an American oil company connected to Trump is preparing to sink wells in remote Greenland despite not having received permission from the local authorities. As the U.S. president renews his threats to claim the vast Arctic territory, materials to prepare for drilling were brought ashore in recent days on Greenland's eastern coast. That has prompted Greenland's government to issue a strong warning. Ooh. Wave the finger that no approval had been granted to land the kit. All future logistical matters must be advised and approved by the Mineral Resources Authority before they are carried out, the government said in a statement. And then 2 days later, Trump posted this on his social media, he posted this early on in 2026. If you guys remember, he just basically used the same picture that he did back then. It's ridiculous. But yeah, so before we get to the rest of it, when it comes to something like this, keep in mind, these are usually precursors before stuff starts rolling maybe a little bit faster and adds on to the intensity of what's going on. So this might be a pressure thing. We don't necessarily know. But either way, you have somebody, one of the biggest egotistical narcissists in the world who thinks he can do whatever he wants to anybody at any time, going out there and basically saying, yeah, we don't have permission to do this. And even the people of Greenland hate me and don't want to be part of American territory. We're just going to go and just start landing our drilling material over there on their land anyways, without any respect for anybody involved with it. So, Yeah, crazy. Says executives of the Greenland Energy, a Texas company set up last year, have claimed that $1 trillion of crude oil may lie beneath the Jameson Land region. They announced plans to spend $60 million drilling 2 wells to find out. Although Greenland stopped issuing new oil licenses in 2021 on environmental grounds, a UK company called 80 Mile had secured exploitation rights in Jameson Land. Greenland Energy's corporate filings say it will take a majority stake in the project in exchange for funding the exploration, though it still needs government permission to proceed. So basically, the UK company got their permission in. They got it in before Greenland just ceased all oil licenses. And now the American company is coming in and say, hey, latch us onto this, give us majority, and we'll do the work and stuff like that. And basically, that's their way of trying to sneak in regards to all of this. As you guys know, or maybe you don't remember, we talked about it a while ago. The whole pursuit of adding Greenland to the United States really was a whispered idea from Ronald Lauder. Ronald Lauder, of course, we know is connected to not only Putin and Trump, but we also know he was the president of the World Jewish Council or something like, I can't remember that last word, but he's connected to that as well. We also know that his son-in-law is Warsh. Kevin Warsh has now taken over the Fed chair. And yeah, there's this whole connection. So Greenland plays a major part in that. We did a huge deep dive on that you can find on my channel if you head to the deep dive section. If you want to know how this whole Greenland thing actually started, it goes back quite a long time. So go check that out if you're interested. It goes on to say Greenland Energy has retained Phil McGraw. You might know him as Dr. Phil. Not even a doctor at all. He's a hack. Prominent White Ring former chat show host who served on Trump's Religious Freedom Commission. Yeah, if you guys don't know, Dr. Phil was on the Religious Freedom Commission to make a documentary series that will capture the mission of these modern-day wildcatters. It has also appointed as director. It has also appointed as director. That's a weird way of wording that. A U.S. Navy veteran who is working on Golden Dome, the missile defense plan for which Trump says controlling Greenland is vital. Larry Sweats, Greenland's energy chair and a big shareholder, appears to enjoy access to Trump's circle as well. He has said that the oil project is not related to American annexation. Of course, he's going to say that. And then a company representative falsely claimed at a Jameson Land community meeting in June that it had permission to land drilling equipment, which of course was a giant lie. But the next month, local people in the sparsely populated region noticed a tug pulling a barge shorewards and unloading a dozen containers. The goal was to get the equipment on shore at the Jameson Land in connection with planned oil exploration drilling, the Greenland government's statement said. The Danish investigative outlet Danwatch quoted the head of the shipping company as confirming the delivery was for Greenland Energy. Now, I don't think that there's any that I know of. There probably is, but I just don't know of, at least yet, any like bigwigs faces that are invested in Greenland Energy. Like I said, there probably is. I just haven't looked. But we do know that there's a whole bunch of other people who have all invested in other drilling and mining explorations in Greenland as well. Ronald Lauder himself is heavily involved. Trump and his sons are heavily involved in their company as well. There's a couple of Middle Eastern dudes that are invested in this. Bill Gates is invested in it. Peter Thiel's invested. Sam Altman's invested. Elon Musk is invested. There's a lot of these bigwigs, whether they be royalty or technocrats or anything like that. They all have investment in other companies that have all attempted to go into Greenland and start either going for oil or minerals. And so that's another aspect of this that we can't forget. We need to make sure that we remember. Goes on to say the Greenland government statement said it would not be proportionate to demand the equipment to be removed. Why not? An application for permission remained under processing and added. A Greenland Energy representative has said a vessel carrying its 300 shipping containers of drilling equipment is set to sail from Canada on September 12th. Sinking the wells would begin in October. So the Greenland Energy is already getting ready to send another 300 shipping containers mid-September. And the Greenland government is basically saying, we did not give you permission to do this. However, we're not going to make you remove your equipment. So pretty interesting what's going on with that. Again, we can't forget about Greenland. We know that this is a part of several other moves that have either happened or we've kind of been waiting to see it happen. We know the Venezuela situation happened, which, if you guys don't know, an update on Venezuela, the government came out. This was like a couple weeks ago. We know the government came out and they removed themselves from the International Criminal Court. We know that's a part of the dismantling campaign that both the United States and Israel have been working with the International Criminal Court. And we know Venezuela came out and left them as a member. But just yesterday, they made an announcement. The Venezuela government made an announcement that they have fully restored their ties with the state of Israel. I wonder what spurred that. Interesting. So the whole Venezuela thing seems to be moving rather well. We know Cuba is still kind of floating out there. A lot of interesting moves happening surrounding Cuba. I don't think that debacle is over yet. I don't think that that's over. I think Cuba is still on the plate. And then we know Greenland is still something that's been mentioned. And then the other aspect that hasn't been talked about much is Panama. And if we go back a couple months ago, Panama canceled a contract with China regarding one of the shipping things over there. Because if you guys don't know, China pretty much controls the Panama Canal situation. They canceled a contract because there's a lot of weird legal stuff. I'm not going to get into it. That was a couple months ago, but secretly 2 weeks ago, China and Panama Canal signed another contract renewing what was going on with that, essentially putting a stamp on there saying United States owns nothing here and China is still fully in control of the Panama Canal. So that's another aspect to keep in mind. So those were some of the regions that were talked about early on in 2026 that the United States was going to go after. And so we're getting some updates on it. But yeah, don't lose track of Greenland. We might start seeing some movement in regards to that, especially since there's still a major war waging with it's war. It's not really a war, but the destruction of NATO is still fully at hand when it comes to this. So, yeah. Again, I say this all the time. I have got to stop reading comments without context. Y'all are weird, man. All right, so I mentioned Israel. Let's take a look at what's going on here. We got Teva, which is a big pharma company, seeks to keep Israel ties from jury and cites Gaza war. And so this is always one of those things where, again, this is why we don't follow narratives. This is why we don't pick sides. This is why we just look at the facts and the truth of this. Because when we go through this, if you're on the left, it's all going to be about Israel's committing genocide, because they changed the definition of what genocide means. But then if you look at the right, you're going to get it saying, see, anti-Semitism is running rampant. And you're going to get both factors of it. And we need to look through the middle when it comes to this. So it says Teva Pharmaceuticals has asked a U.S. judge to prevent issuer Humana from telling jurors it is an Israeli company at a major drug price fixing trial, arguing that strong public views over the Gaza war could prejudice proceedings and affect its ability to receive a fair hearing. Oh my goodness. So this is a disaster all the way around. So you have Teva Pharmaceuticals, who's one of the world's biggest big pharma companies, and they're out of Israel, and they are getting sued by Humana over here. I think it's Kentucky. I think they're out of Kentucky. They're getting sued because Teva has been in contact with several other pharmaceutical companies to basically price fix generic drugs to keep prices higher so they can make a bunch of money. And Humana is suing them regarding that. Well, now we have the issue of, because of what's been going on in the Middle East and the things happening with Israel and Gaza and all the stuff there. An Israeli company is afraid that jurors are going to be biased against them because of what the state has been doing over there. And it says, in a filing in a federal court in Philadelphia on Wednesday, Tel Aviv-based Teva said its national origins have no bearing on whether it took part in an alleged conspiracy to inflate generic drug prices, the central claim in the litigation. So here's the nuanced conversation that we've had before, but I got to make sure that we bring it up now when it comes to this. We know Scripture. We know the last days. We are warned that in these times, there's going to be an intense hatred that's going to increase. It's going to continue to grow against Israel and the Jews. We know that that's going to happen. And there's this idea, this concept, again, this is the whole bias conversation, is you have the leftist side of things, which is continuously pushing a doctored definition version of genocide that is stirring up hatred when it comes to the secular world. And then you got on the right side, not only are you battling the whole replacement theology situation that's happening there, but on the flip side of that, you have the pro-Israel church that's going out there and saying, well, people just hate Jews in Israel just because they hate them. They can't really define. They're continuing to throw anti-Semitism around, but they can't really define where it's coming from. They just say it's a whole bunch of lies, and what they're doing is they're covering up the actual actions that Israel's making. All of those can be true at the same time. All of those can be true at the same time. You can have consistent lies and altering of history coming out of the secular left and the right. You can have the replacement theology that is expanding within many denominations of the church, and you guys know my position on that. I think denominations is a divisive plan created by Satan to go in and literally add man-made rules rather than just follow Jesus. I'm against the whole denominational thing. And then the other aspect of it is you have ignorance and deception coming from the pro-Israel church that's doing anything that they can to avoid the truth and make up lies for defense rather than just actually seeking the truth in regards to it. That's the reality of the situation. So don't get pulled in one way or the other. You got to make sure that you cut through it and you look through the center of it. You think, critically think, use logic when it comes to this. Are we seeing all three forms of that today? Anybody who is actively seeking the truth and not trying to blind themselves with a bias can sit there and go, yes, we are actively seeing all three forms of that at the same time. So you have that aspect of it. The other aspect of it that we need to make sure that we recognize as well is a lot of the hatred that Israel is accumulating upon themselves is from their own actions. It's things that they are doing. The increased heat that brought upon themselves with the Gaza situation is because there has been a whole bunch of evidence coming out of the things that they were doing were just straight inhumane to people. And so they're bringing a lot of it on themselves. So you've got lies, you've got replacement theology, you got deception, you've got actual actions and history of this stuff, and it's all accumulating. Again, in Scripture, we're not getting definition of, well, there's going to be increased anti-Semitism simply because of this reason. No, we're just told that it's going to increase, and it's increasing faster because all of these things are coming together at the same time in regards to it. And so we need to make sure, and this is always a reminder, because I got people who watch who I know are pro-Israel, and I know I got people that watch that are anti-Israel. And it's one of those things where you make sure you're not getting swallowed up in one of these sides and going off in one of these directions. Cut through the middle of it and see the reality of the situation. Think for yourself. Critically think. Look at it logically. And you'll see that all these factors are absolutely playing a factor at the exact same time. And so when we have something like this, we've gotten to the point where even in a lawsuit that's happening here in the United States regarding an Israeli company, they want to hide their ties to Israel because of all of those factors that are going to increase the heat. It's going to give them side eye when it comes to a jury in a lawsuit. And so pretty interesting in regards to that. I'll let you deal with that, tools. I don't even know. Okay, so let's see here. Yeah, so it says Teva, one of Israel's largest companies, is set to be one of several drug makers to face the first trial in a long-running case. The trial is scheduled to begin on September 15th and end by late October. The filing underscored how far-reaching tensions over the war in Gaza have become in the United States, including potentially complicating a company's ability to defend itself before randomly selected jurors. In the period of almost 3 years since the start of the war in Gaza, anything connected with Israel has been subject to the highest levels of controversy, with emotions running high, Teva said in a filing. Because it's true. In a statement, it said its corporate origin was irrelevant to the case and that references to a foreign parent company are potentially prejudicial. Teva's US-based subsidiary is a defendant in the lawsuit. Teva has denied Humana's allegations that it conspired with other drug makers to keep the prices of some drugs artificially high. The drugs include the muscle relaxant, baclofen, and blood pressure medication, Propanol. And this is just a fact of the matter is Big Pharma is one of the worst major issues in the world. Not only does it make you sick and unhealthy and keep you fed on these drugs and artificial things and whatnot, but yes, they absolutely artificially inflate the prices on this stuff because they make a killing doing it, just like hospitals and stuff here in the United States. They make an absolute killing when it comes to this. Yamara, don't hate all of Israel. We're not hating all of Israel either, but at the same time, don't reject the truth of the matter of what Israel has done and continues to do. Again, this is one of those things where I hate seeing comments like that, and I'm not mad at you, Yamara, but it's just one of those things where it's like, every time I bring something up, there's always somebody that leaves a comment that either says all Jews are evil or it says you can't hate the Jews. It's like, you're not paying attention to what I'm saying. You're continuing to try and lean and leverage it in some type of way. We're not hating all of Israel. But yet everything that I just said, you ignored to simply defend Israel as opposed to listening to what's going on. You're not listening to what I'm saying. You're only hearing what you want to hear so you can defend your side of it. And it's like, this needs to be a wake-up call for people because I see it consistently. There's always somebody that comes in every time I'm trying to say this that says, well, you can't hate all of Israel. You can't hate the Jews. Nobody said that. If you listen to what I said, you would understand that I didn't say that at all. But you heard that as opposed to listen to what I actually said. I literally just had that issue with somebody left a comment where they literally did not listen to anything that I said and repeated my own words back to me as if they were teaching me something. And I said, did you listen to what I said? Because I literally just said exactly what you did, but yet you only heard what you wanted to hear. So you could try and teach me something that is actually what I just said. It's, if your first reaction to somebody talking is to ignore what they're saying, to defend something, even though I'm not attacking anybody, that says that you have a mental wall up and you're not actually listening. And we all do this. Everybody does this. We need to not do that. We need to listen to what is being said, not what we think we are hearing. And this is something, teenagers are notorious for doing this, but adults, they do it too, even though they don't want to admit it. We're not actually hearing, we're not listening. We just hear something and immediately go into defensive mode as opposed to what is actually being said. And we can't find the truth, we can't seek the truth if we continue to let our bias and narratives direct our listening habits. And this is something that Satan preys on when it comes to societal manipulation, and he's done it for years. This is what the government does. This is what everything is grounded in. It uses your own bias and your own listening technique against you. We've got to make sure that we don't do that. Yeah, Judah says, I've done it. Yeah, we've all done it. We've all done it. So again, it's one of those things where if you're listening to something, if the first thing you hear instantly puts up a wall and you go into defensive mode and you just want to defend it, you are not listening to anything else afterward. I had the same thing when I talked about my I don't believe in 7-year tribulation thing. People immediately heard me say, oh, you don't believe in 7-year tribulation? Didn't listen to anything else that I said and tried to defend their position and tell me I'm wrong rather than listening to what I had to say. Like if you listen to what I have to say, you'd understand that half of the things that you just brought up, I answered and said that you can't answer those. So again, just another one of those things when it comes to this, we've got to recognize that we have to purposely pay attention to that. This is something that I still struggle with, but it's something that I consciously had to pay attention to when I started studying this stuff. And I had to get past my own self in order to see what's going on. So, again, don't be so quick to throw out defense. Listen to what is being said. Diane, my husband tells me that all the time. Oh man, good stuff. Oh my goodness. All right. It goes on to say, it concludes, Teva pointed to a recent opinion poll that said it found about 60% of Americans have a negative view of Israel. And again, it's one of those things, first of all, opinion polls, they don't mean much. Did I ever get questioned for this poll? Did you ever get questioned for this poll? No. So you can't really go off of the polls and the statistics and stuff like that. There's no grounding when it comes to that. But we do know that there is that increase, not only in the United States, but around the world, that is increasing. And what's our confirmation or validation of that? It is Scripture itself. We know that that's absolutely playing a part in this. So I wanted to bring this up. Not only does it allow me a chance to take a jab at pharmaceutical, because it's always good to take a jab at big pharma, but it also brings, again, the attention back to the conversation of why and how anti-Semitism is increasing. It's not only just lies and a satanic plan at play, but it is also because Israel has taken actions that have brought it upon themselves as well. So it's both cases when it comes to it. So, oh man. Jalapeno passing out Q-tips. Not supposed to use those on your ears, man. Not supposed to use. Oh man. East Texas poll are mostly made up. I've never known anyone polled for anything. Yeah, exactly. That's what I mean. There's so many people that use polls, whether government to churches to TED Talks and all that pull out these poll numbers. And it's like there's no grounding to it. There's no foundation to it because most people weren't even polled. And when you go and you look up the numbers of how many people are polled, they don't like to put that out there. But if you go and look it up, usually it's anywhere from either like 500 to 1,000 people that could get polled. And those are the statistics. That's why, one of the things that you got to keep in mind, and I brought this up before, remember 2024, all the churches, all the pro-Trump churches and stuff kept throwing around the Barna numbers that said 40 million Christians in the United States didn't vote. That's why Biden won. That came around. Well, first of all, who did Barna poll? It was only based on, I think it was like 3,000 people. But yet they're saying 40 million Christians didn't vote because they skewed the statistics. We also know that the Barna University, that whole group, is has foundational connections to the Seven Mountain Mandate movement and everything like that. So it was literally a propaganda narrative campaign of made up poll numbers to be pushed by pastors in churches to go out there and convince them, to guilt trip their congregations into voting for something. Or essentially, the correct way of putting it is giving consent to a satanic order. That's what they did. So Barna, connected to Seven Mountain Mandate and everything like that, made up numbers to push the churches to guilt trip Christians into giving consent to a satanic system. And the numbers weren't based on anything. Barna has never once polled me on anything. But yet they continue to put out numbers regarding Christians and stuff like that. And it's like, this is why we cannot believe these statistical numbers that are based upon nothing. S.L. Murphy, anyone can use statistics to prove anything. 80% of people know that. Yeah. So Was it like, did you guys know that 70% of statistics are made up? Where'd you figure that one out? I just made it up. See, it's that simple. So, gotta be careful. Sticking with the pharmaceutical stuff, I wanted to put this out there too. Trump said that he'll impose tariffs on generic drugs starting on August 28th. Pretty interesting that the companies getting sued they were talking about price fixing generic drugs, and now Trump says he's going to impose tariffs on generic drugs starting in August of 2028. 100% tariffs, and then 200% year after. This Trump on Tuesday, this was July 21st, announced a plan to impose a 100% tariff on generic drugs starting August 28th as part of a bid to push pharmaceutical production back to the United States. The tariff would then jump to 200% in 2029 if implemented. You'll notice that it's all generic drugs. It's not the big pharma name brand ones. Why? Because the big pharma name brand ones are in cahoots with this man. So he wants to go after the generic ones that cost his big name companies money. And so this is a little way to help big pharma. Coming from the self-proclaimed vaccine daddy himself, the father of the vaccine. So keep that in mind. Yeah, not of this world. That dude is just putting random garbage in the chat. So, yeah, I don't think he's here to do anything but just be a nuisance. I've seen some of this stuff, and none of it has anything to do with anything. So, I just let him out. So, all right, let's talk about some bounty hunters. Dog the bounty hunter, anyone? I don't understand people who come in and just type random stuff in chat. Are you that bored, man? Go build a chair. It says DHS is hiring bounty hunters to find and photograph deported people's homes abroad. That's right. In case you guys don't know, your tax money is now going to start paying international bounty hunters to go and find and take pictures of deported people and their homes so they can try and collect money. Kid you not. U.S. Customs and Border Protection is seeking to hire private investigators to track down deported immigrants and others who have left the United States and press them into paying the government money. The work would cover Mexico, Honduras, and Guatemala, and potentially other countries. The documents, which cap the so-called Tracing and Payment Recovery Services program at $9 million over the next 2 years, call for the commercial data verification and physical observation services to confirm where each person lives. They list photographs of the homes as acceptable evidence, along with records such as utility bills, employment files, court documents, or if the person has died, a death certificate. So they're going to take $9 million of your money to pay for bounty hunters to go into Mexico, Honduras, Guatemala, and some other countries to go and find people that they deported so they can try and take money from them that the government claims that they owe. I'm not even sure that this program is going to pay for itself. I don't even think they're going to get $9 million to even cover the expenses of this. The U.S. government will also accept other documentation so long as it deems it relevant and credible. Contractors are also required to deliver a printed flyer approved by the U.S. government and printed in English and Spanish, listing outstanding fines and fees the Border Patrol claims that they owe. As of July, the Department of Homeland Security, the Border Patrol's parent agency, says it has issued more than $84 billion in fines to immigrants it has accused of failing to depart the United States, citing an obscure provision of a 1996 immigration law that sat unused until Trump's first term. Those fines run against people who are still in the country at $998 a day for up to 5 years. Some have reached up to $1.8 million. I'm curious how this is going to work. So you're deporting all these people, and then you're going to send bounty hunters to go and find them in other countries so you can try and collect $84 billion from immigrants who deported themselves or were deported? What? And it doesn't make any sense because most of them that left, they're already poor. They're not going to have enough money to pay for anything. Some third-party collection agencies add on an additional $500,000 in administration fees on top of the U.S. government fees. So they're going to charge somebody an extra $500,000 for administration fees when it comes to the immigrant. This is one of the dumbest things that I have ever seen in my life. I don't even care if you are the biggest supporter of Trump's deportation thing. I don't even care. This is one of the dumbest programs I've ever seen. You might as well just burn the $9 million. This is so stupid. DHS promises that it will forgive failure to depart fines if people self-deport using the Border Patrol Home app. The waiver does not include a separate $5,130 fee Congress created last year for people ordered, removed in absentia, and later arrested by ICE, which the statute bars from waiving or reducing. Someone who left through the app on the promise of a clean slate could still carry that balance. How do they plan on actually collecting this money? I'm curious. Something tells me it has nothing to do with actually collecting money. It says Mexico's Foreign Ministry, Guatemala's Ministry of Foreign Affairs, and Honduras's Secretariat of Foreign Affairs did not respond to questions about whether the United States has consulted them or whether they would cooperate with the contractors. And it goes on to say, Border Patrol's proposal extends a model that the government has already built inside the United States. In December, ICE awarded open-ended skip tracing contracts to 13 private companies. We covered this when this was going on. This was back in like February or March that we talked about this. 13 private companies were paid $1.2 billion to track down immigrants. Yes, ICE even paid for their own bounty hunters. So the bounty hunters paid for bounty hunters. $1.2 billion to go and find these people. The companies are expected to send ICE photos and documents confirming where a person lives or works and earn bonuses based on the number of people found. Sharon Bradford Franklin, a former chairwoman of the Privacy and Civil Liberties Oversight Board, told Scripps the arrangement makes the companies essentially ICE bounty hunters. What Border Patrol is after now is effectively the same structure pointed instead at people already forced from the country. So yeah, basically, ICE is going international. Literally. I thought ICE was just to deport the immigrants from the country, which they're failing at that. I don't know if anybody realizes, but the guy who was supposed to be releasing I think it's every 2 weeks. I think it's supposed to be every 2 weeks. The numbers of immigrants to be deported. He was fired. His position was never filled. And there was a policy letter going through Border Patrol that basically barred anybody from actually releasing the statistical numbers of deportations. Why? Because, first of all, if they are deporting people at all, the numbers are so low, it's going to make them look stupid. It's going to make them look stupid. Every quote unquote statistic that we have of the numbers, they're claiming that it's like 4,600 immigrants that are being deported every single day, is simply just a social media post by one of the spokespeople at the Border Patrol Homeland Security office, with no statistics, no actual evidence, anything. They just say, yeah, we're deporting this many people each day, and nothing to back it up. It's the same song and dance when it came to blowing up the quote unquote drug boats, where even to this day, they still have provided no evidence that they were drug boats. They don't provide any evidence in regards. They just want you to believe it. Just believe it. Because this whole campaign, this whole thing is established in order to continue to move things forward. If you're deporting, again, this is one of those things, and I brought this up the very first time we started hearing about this campaign, this ICE campaign, that people didn't seem to realize. that campaign was never going to be a one and done operation. It was never going to be a thing of we're going to go in, it's going to take a year, we're going to deport all these. They said some ridiculous number like 60 million or something. We're going to deport all these people and get them out of the country, and then we're just going to dissolve this program. Did anybody expect them to dissolve this program? No, because what they're doing is they're establishing a brand new Stasi police in the United States that's never going to go away. It is the same cliche that you've heard 1,000 times. If you give an inch, they're going to take a mile. It never goes back. And what they're doing is they're expanding upon it. The goal is not to deport immigrants. It never was. And so why would they take away the only leverage that they have in order to not only keep their established Stasi police force, but increase it? Is you have to continue to push the idea that all these illegal immigrants are here. And that allows them to continue to move forward and continue to have favor with people who, well, they can't think for themselves and only believe whatever their political party tells them. It's the same thing when it comes to the idea of inflation. Question: does the price of food at the grocery store ever go down? No. It goes up, and then they say, we fixed inflation. The prices stay the same, because why would they ever decrease them? They won't. It only goes up. It's the same thing when it comes to this ICE situation. They're never going to get rid of it. You allowed them into it. The same people that have been talking about the police state, the right-wing Christian MAGA conservative people that talk about the police state, they've been talking about it for decades upon decades, made major wins with Obama and stuff like that, are the very same people literally supporting the police state now because they are believing the lie of we're here to get rid of the immigrants. So they're okay with a police state as long as they continue to get fed the lies regarding immigrants, as opposed to, I don't know, thinking for themselves and realizing the police state in all forms is bad. Again, this is why we don't sit on one side of the fence or the other. This is why we don't go with narratives. This is why we don't go with bias. This is why we don't fall for Satan's political trick. Because the same people that have been shouting against the police state for 20 years that are the same people believing it now because they don't actually have any beliefs or principles that they stand upon. They just simply follow whatever their political party tells them to. And in essence, if you follow a political party, you're essentially just following Satan. But these are the ones that will point the finger at you when you try to tell them that in church, saying, you're not a Christian, you're a leftist. Cindy, not really. I'm just very tired and I get kind of like a gust of energy when I'm tired. So just to be honest. But this is how this whole system works. This is how it's worked for centuries. It doesn't change because people have continuously fall for it. They don't need to alter anything. They don't need to change anything. They don't need to, fix it. Don't fix what isn't broke. It just works every time. It's so easy to see if you can just get out of your own way. It really is. It really is. Patrick, pretty much. Pretty much. All right. So we got an update on this one. Trump drops key claim in $10 billion defamation suit against the BBC to avoid giving up financial records. So we covered this. This was a couple weeks ago. We covered this whole situation. The reason why we covered it because the BBC started to really get in when it came to the Jack Smith report, saying if we're going to go with this, we need to be able to get the information on the Jack Smith report in order to make sure that we can properly defend everything. And so basically Trump is suing, just if you guys don't know, Trump is suing the BBC for defamation because the BBC put out a video surrounding the January 6th thing. Basically, they edited some stuff and it made Trump look like he was instigating a riot at the Capitol, which he was. He was a part of it. Him and the Flynn brothers and everything like that. They were the ones that instigated the crowd to move forward with their political agenda. So that's true. But he's suing the BBC because they edited some video that really made him look bad. And so he sued them for $10 billion for not only reputational damages, but also for damaging his businesses, his over 400 something businesses. And he says, you owe me $10 billion. Well, now that the BBC came out and said, well, we need to see all your financials for all of your business in Discovery for us to be able to properly defend ourselves against this. And the judge said, yes, Trump will be required to hand over all his financial information, all of his files for his over 400 businesses to the BBC and Discovery, which means we, as the public, would get to see all of it. That's part of Discovery. Well, Trump said, okay, we're not going to claim that there was any business damage. And so we don't need to give up our financial files anymore because of that. Oh, what you hiding? What you hiding, man? We already know he's been busted for so many different frauds, tax fraud, and altering files and everything like that. So if you guys don't know, this is like the 50th time in the past 10 years that Trump has tried to sue a company, and they said that we need this for Discovery, and then he backs down from his lawsuit because he doesn't want his dirty laundry, his skeletons, getting out to the public. Says Trump abandoned a key claim in his $10 billion defamation lawsuit against the BBC to keep the president from having to disclose financial records tied to his business empire as part of the legal fight. Trump filed the lawsuit in December, alleging that the BBC defamed him through the Panorama documentary linked to its coverage of January 6, 2021 speech before the Capitol attack. An emergency motion filed Thursday by Trump's legal team withdrew allegations that the broadcaster's reporting damaged the president's businesses and brand, instead narrowing the case to claims of personal harm. The plaintiff is no longer intends to pursue damages theory premised on injury to the plaintiff's brands and businesses, Trump lawyers wrote. It is simply the reputational injury to the president, full stop. Yeah, because they didn't want all of their illegal, corrupt fraud in his business filings getting out to the public. That's why. There's still another element to this, though, that I'll bring up at the end. Despite the change, the president is still seeking $10 billion in damages from the broadcaster for reputational damages. The shift came after the judge ordered Trump to produce financial records because he had previously argued that the BBC's reporting caused economic damage to his commercial interests. His legal team had argued the disclosure order was shockingly broad and warned compliance would cause irreparable harm to the trust overseeing Trump's business assets. Guys, they told on themselves. They didn't blatantly say it, but they told on themselves. They said if the financial records disclosure order went through, it would cause irreparable harm to the trust overseeing Trump's business assets. How would it cause irreparable harm for the public to see his financial disclosures? I'll let you answer that one yourself because you know the answer to that one. You know the answer to that one. They said it. They said it out loud. If anybody saw the financial records of Trump's businesses, nobody would ever get involved with Trump again because of how corrupt we are and the illegalities that we commit every single day. They told you. Thursday's revised complaint prompted a Miami judge to temporarily pause the order requiring Trump to hand over financial information relating to the Donald J. Trump revocable trust because they're dropping that claim so they wouldn't need to be required to. That's why, which holds the president's business interest in and is managed by his son, Trump Jr. In response to the withdrawal of the allegations, the broadcaster's lawyers, the BBC lawyers, question how Trump could still justify the scale of the damages sought. Claiming $10 billion in harm while purporting to disclaim damage to plaintiff's business and professional interests renders it all the more implausible that plaintiff will ever be able to show such damages, the BBC lawyers wrote in a court filing. Basically, they're saying he's suing us for $10 billion, or he originally sued us for $10 billion for reputation damage and business damage. Now he's taking away the business damage, but he's still claiming that it's $10 billion worth of reputational damage. He must prove that. That's what the BBC lawyers are saying. And that's where we're currently sitting right now. Now, the aspect of this, which I think is more important than this, the financial stuff, because we know Trump is a Luciferian, corrupt, lawless, fill in the blank. The aspect of it that we're still waiting to hear about is the other side when it comes to the BBC requesting the executive files for the Jack Smith report, because that's the other half of this lawsuit. And so we haven't heard anything about that. Something tells me that they're going to drop that too, that Trump is going to drop that too, because he doesn't want that getting out in discovery either. That's the one. And I'm sure a lot of you guys are aware, I'm following the Jack Smith thing. Again, I'm still in the position where I don't know if that's theatrics, but something tells me that there really is something real to it, because Trump is doing everything he possibly can to keep that hidden. And all it will be is confirming what we already know. And we've gone over this stuff. It confirms his ties to the Kremlin, to Putin, to the Soviet party, Russia. It ties him to all that. It ties to election rigging. It ties to the nuclear specs and everything in the files that he has, that we know are now connected to Saudi Arabia and the nuclear stuff that they're doing over there. We covered all of that. So Jack Smith's report isn't going to give, well, maybe it'll give us something new if we ever see it, which we probably won't. But it basically will just confirm everything that we've already established over the past year that we've been covering this stuff. But yeah, I wanted to give an update on that because, first of all, he's covering up his corruption. It's still always funny to me to watch Christians and pastors bend over backwards to try and defend this dude when it's so obvious, especially when they tell us how corrupt he is. They literally, his lawyers told us that his entire business structure is built on lies, illegal fraud, and corruption. But yet they bend over backwards to protect him. But the other half has to do with, we're still waiting to see how the Jack Smith side of things are going to move forward with it. So again, corruption, lawlessness, it's going to increase as we move forward through these last days until the man of lawlessness himself is revealed. Obviously, that's not Trump, but man, he is paving that road with gold for the beast when he steps onto the scene. That's for sure. So, all right. Julie B, can't believe I actually supported him at one time, although many years ago. You can't beat yourself up over it. Can't beat yourself up over it. It's just one of those things. You saw through it now. You're past it. You're on. You see the lies and this deception, and you just got to move forward. So can't beat yourself up over that on that one. Doesn't do you any good. You're past it now. That's all that matters. So we're going to talk about this as well. I've been kind of talking about this off and on, mainly on the Wretched Recaps. Just brought it up again when it came to Big Bend with what they're doing over there, destroying the national park, destroying history, destroying the environment, habitats, animals, everything, in order to build a wall that actually will do no good for anything. The real statistics on it are, again, it won't do any good. But diving a little bit further into it, we find that not only is he destroying everything with the national park to build this wall, but it's a gift, a no-bid contract gift to a donor who donated like upwards of millions of dollars to Trump in order to get handed these massive contracts. And Trump is also definancing all of the money that goes to support national parks and then taking it and adding it to his DC project fund in order to build his Arc de Trump and the reflecting pool failure and the ballroom, which is now being called a military complex. I don't know if people caught on to that, but Trump is no longer calling it a ballroom. It is now a military complex. So that should tell you something. And he's basically defunding the national parks and adding it so he can just build a whole bunch of monuments to himself in DC. It says, forget the East Wing, the real demolition has only just begun. There's some interesting stuff that has been taking place on this. The proposed Arc de Trump in Washington is less a monument than a gaudy construction the height of a skyscraper, a travesty that, if built, would dramatically change the landscape of the nation's capital. This is probably why Trump is so eager to get it made as fast as he can. It would be an unavoidable monument to a presidency and a man whom many Americans would rather not honor so conspicuously, if at all. That's a good sentence right there. He understands that once it's there, it will be hard for anybody to make it go away. The National Park Service said last week that the arch would not only block the vista between the Lincoln Memorial and the Arlington National Cemetery, but would also have an impact on 35 other Washington landmarks. The Trump administration is in the process of making it much easier to demolish historic buildings and landscapes, not just in Washington, but nationwide. The Park Service's observations were made during a Section 106 review. This is important because it tells us a precedent that we're already seeing, but they put it in writing for us to see. I'll point it out when we get there. But it's talking about Section 106 of the Park Service review, which has been one of our most effective historic preservation tools for the past 60 years. The name is a reference to a clause in the National Historic Preservation Act of 1966. It requires that before approval is granted for any project that uses federal funds or could affect buildings or landscapes in the National Register of Historic Places, its impact on historic places must be evaluated and the public must be consulted. The Trump administration recently proposed changes that would render this type of review process impotent. So basically what they're saying is before you take any federal funds to alter something, or if you're going to alter something that is considered a historic place on the National Register, it must be evaluated and you must get public comment. But they're going to try and alter all of that. Now, before we go any further, when I was reading this is something that I've been thinking about for such a long time. It's so interesting that the teachers and the speakers and the pastors and the Christians that continue to just throw up this defending history, you know who I'm talking about. Their entire career is based upon, we must protect the history, the American history. We must make sure that they don't alter the history, that the history is saved, that the history is preserved, that we get the real history out there. Again, you know who I'm talking about. Their entire thing is about defending the history, are literally doing everything that they can, bending over backwards 3 times over, breaking their spine to defend the man who is going out there and demolishing all aspects of history, that is eliminating history from government websites and is completely burning down and rewriting any history that makes them uncomfortable. The very same people saying we must preserve history are defending the guy that's doing everything that he can to destroy it. If that's not propaganda, deception, and some delusion, then I don't know what is. Just because history makes you uncomfortable doesn't mean that it doesn't belong to be there, because that is history. There's so many people, it's like, we must preserve American history, while Trump goes out there and literally destroys the history that predates it. You're talking about Native American history that's been there for 12, 13, 14, 1500 years. And they're just wrecking it, destroying it. That's what they're doing all along the southern side with New Mexico and Texas and everything. They're wrecking. There was an archaeology, a Native American archaeology a dig site that's been there that they dated it about 1,000 years old, and they wrecked it. It's gone, destroyed. All of that history gone. But they don't care because that's Native American history. It doesn't have anything to do with the founding fathers and stuff like that. I don't know about you guys, but I'm one of those people where history is history. That's what it is. But again, that's something that I've dived into. I've looked into all this different history stuff because it's so important. But yet it's so fascinating. It's so fascinating. Those who claim that they want to preserve history are defending the man and supporting the man who is destroying all aspects of history. Interesting. Goes on to say, Section 106 has had a superb record of encouraging negotiation and compromise, does not forbid change or even demolition, but it stipulates that efforts must be made to avoid, minimize, or mitigate any harm to historic places. The very reasonableness of the law may be exactly what has led the Trump administration to be so determined to get rid of it. It says the proposed changes to Section 106 were issued by the Advisory Council on Historic Preservation. This is yet another of our government's review organizations that has been filled with Trump appointees who have no sympathy for the subject on which they expected to pass judgment. We talked about this when they gutted the Advisory Council and Trump appointed 3 of his yes men in there. So he has full control over the Advisory Council. And again, this has to do with the Supreme Court giving Trump the ability to go in there and fire and hire anybody for independent groups. So again, they're making their way towards that dictatorship. If this new policy is enacted, it would extend the autocratic decision making the Trump's Washington fiascos to history buildings and sites anywhere in the country. Here's the important part. If you've tuned out, I want you to tune in at least for this, because this is something that you need to realize when it comes to the U.S. government right now, what they are doing. The Trump administration's revised version of Section 106, keep in mind, we're supposed to be constitutional republic where the president and the Congress and all these people are supposed to be representatives of we the people. Well, the Trump administration's revised version of Section 106 replaces the views of the public are essential to informed federal decision-making with a statement that says the government will have exclusive discretion to determine the usefulness of public participation. They're altering it and saying they're changing it from public view is essential for federal decision-making, and they have now changed it to exclusive discretion will be determined of the usefulness of public participation. The government is saying federal agencies can do whatever we want, and we don't care what the public has to say. That's the Trump administration. That is what they are doing. That's what they're doing. They're telling you in writing that they are saying you have no authority to put in public input, and we go as far as determining how useful your public comment is. That's how much they care about you. The Commission on Fine Arts, the National Park Service, and the National Capital Planning Commission received tens of thousands of public comments on the ballroom and the arch, almost all of which were negative. The commissions approved both projects anyways. The proposed changes also state that Section 106 applies only to sites that contain actual buildings and other structures, eliminating any obligation to take public input into account in cases where natural landscapes, including the sacred lands of Native Americans, are potentially compromised. A clause requiring that Section 106 reviews begin at an early stage of design has been eliminated, making it all but impossible to suggest that a project site be shifted to protect something historic. Basically, they're saying anything that has to do with national parks, Native American lands, anything to do with that, you have absolutely no input in at all anymore. We're not required to even put up an email for you to insert your comments. We're going to go and do whatever we want to do anyways with it. One potential new clause says that the federal personnel no longer need to visit threatened sites, and another clause states that any proposed mitigation of negative impact must be technically and economically feasible. Basically, in other words, all the government has to say is, sorry, we've decided it will be too expensive to run that new highway through a route that will protect a natural vista, and we're just going to bulldoze right through it. Basically, they're saying, no, it's too expensive for us to go around the habitat of that endangered animal, so we're just going to go ahead and plow right through it. They're giving themselves that power. It says if the Trump administration succeeds in making its proposed changes to Section 106, it will take a wrecking ball to the historic preservation movement in the United States. Again, this administration, Trump, does not care about history, does not care about any of it. And he now is altering it, saying, well, you won't even get a comment on this, and we're also going to have discretion of determining how useful your comments are going to be in the first place. Jack says, like you said, this country's done, and that's the thing, is I know some of you guys have been around and you've been listening to me talk about this type of stuff for months on end. The reason why I continue to talk about stuff like this is because it gives somebody the opportunity to wake up to what is being done right now, because there's still so many Christians that are defending this and are living in this delusion that this country is getting better, that Trump cares about you, that he's trying to restore the Constitution and do all these things, when everything is a lie, everything is a facade, everything is corruption and lawlessness, and trying to alter this country even further than it's already been towards that fascist technocratic dictatorship that is currently being established here in this country. And it's just, I'm trying so hard to try and get as much out there for people who are willing to listen and maybe will come out from that deception. Let's see what's going on with it. Pastor Ed Carson, go take a look at the video that I did where I break down Trump and his connection to the Kremlin and stuff like that. He's been groomed by the Soviet Party since the 80s. I did an entire breakdown of all of it, all his connections, all his history, how he came into politics, how he's implemented the Soviet plan into all this stuff. I mean, it's all right there, man. It's all right there. I have plenty of that on there. I got a couple deep dive videos in all of that. Some of it is his own words telling people, yes, I was invited to the Kremlin by the Soviet Socialist Party, and I met some of the top KGB agents and everything. I mean, Ron Lauder, the Lauder family is involved with all that as well. There's a KGB agent that actually met with Trump during that whole thing, and he came out and said, when we met Trump, the reason why we picked Trump is because he was so stupid that we could get him to do anything if we stroked his ego enough. Now, it's fascinating because the KGB said that in the 80s regarding Trump. And in 2026, the Iranian regime said the exact same thing. They said, we can get Trump to do anything because he's an idiot that if you just stroke his ego enough, you could get him to do whatever we want. It's so fascinating how 46 years later, What the KGB said and what the Iranian regime said are exactly the same thing about this man. He's so dumb and egotistical that if you praise him enough, you can manipulate him to do anything. How do you think the Luciferians have been controlling this guy? Not my words. That's the words of the KGB. That's the words of the Iranian regime. And that's the word of Trump himself. Do with that what you will. Oh, man. Crazy. So, sticking with national parks. That was just the beginning of all this. Trump is turning the national parks into his own personal piggy bank. Says the records show more than $323 million have been made available for upgrades and projects on the White House grounds this year. $323 million for White House grounds projects. That's nearly 5,000% increase from the $7.5 million spent on the White House grounds projects in 2024. So $7.5 million for White House projects in 2024. Trump comes in and is spending $323 million for projects. On the National Mall in Washington, nearly $100 million was made available for projects this year. That's more than 10 times larger than the $9 million provided for the mall in 2024. Man. The internal park service records show declines in the money allotted to or projected for use at dozens of other major U.S. parks this year. There were multi-million-dollar reductions in funds for Yellowstone, Yosemite, and the Grand Canyon National Parks, which are some of the flagship attractions of America's National Park Service. The shifting of funds slows or delays a range of projects, big and small, at national park facilities while expediting work on Trump's pet projects in Washington, D.C. Trump is gutting national park funding so he can build all of his little narcissistic projects in Washington, D.C. That's what's going on. The shifting priorities could exacerbate a $30 billion backlog of deferred maintenance at federal park facilities nationwide. What they're saying here is, as of 2026, the backlog of projects that need to be taken care of at all of the United States national parks is around $30 billion. So Trump's response is to defund it even more so he can take that money and build stuff in D.C. So we're already backlogged $30 billion of stuff that needs to be done at the national parks. And now we're defunding it even more so Trump can build monuments to himself. Trump's focus on vanity projects also risks further demoralizing and depleting federal parks workforce. National Park Service has lost nearly 2,000 employees between May of 2025 and May of 2026 due to attrition, Trump's DOGE reductions, and other trims. The aggressive and accelerating shifting of money has also triggered or coincided with some embarrassing mistakes and missteps on high-profile projects. The Trump administration launched no-bid expedited contracts for multi-million-dollar projects prized by Trump in Washington, D.C., including a fledgling effort to renovate the Lincoln Memorial Reflecting Pool, which still has not been fixed. Trump's White House ballroom project has resulted in unfortunate images of the White House grounds and a blistering appeals court ruling against the project. And tens of millions of dollars are coming from an opaque set of corporate donations via corporations and officials who are potentially seeking to cozy up to Trump. And we just went over that last week, talking about Trump's pay-to-play mafia campaign, where he's hitting people up for millions and millions and millions and millions and millions of dollars in donations if you want to actually get the king to shine his light upon the corporations that these people work for. Interior Department records showed that this year's allotted funds for the White House grounds and National Mall projects total $423 million. In 2024, the combined funding for those two sites was less than 20 million. So 2024, 20 million for White House grounds and National Mall projects. Trump, 423 million. According to the National Park Service records, the $423 million funding allotment for upgrades and projects at the White House and National Mall is larger than the combined funding this year for Yellowstone, Yosemite, Grand Canyon, Grand Teton, Golden Gate National Park, the Statue of Liberty Complex, Mammoth Cave, Zion National Park, and Joshua Tree. So Trump's DC projects is more than all of the funding of those parks combined. Again, I'm trying to figure out how people cannot figure out who this guy is. Because at this point, this isn't even deception anymore. It's so obvious. This is like Trump literally walking up to a Christian and just repeatedly punching him in the face, dead center nose, over and over and over again. And the Christian is sitting there going, "Please, Trump, punch me some more." This isn't even deception anymore. This is like how what the Democrats do isn't even deception anymore. Trump has become so obvious in his lawless corruption and what he is doing to this country to prepare it for the end times. But yet Christians can't seem to recognize it. And there's so many people out there that, they're sitting there going, how on earth is all these people around the world going to fall for the beast when he comes onto the scene? Gee, not so hard to comprehend now, is it? It's crazy. It's remarkably crazy. Yeah, I don't even know at this point anymore. I don't even know at this point. Amanda, this is lawlessness. No, this is stupidity at this point. That's what this is. This is just stupidity at this point. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. So, Amanda can't, no, they won't. Yeah. Can't recognize it or won't. No, they won't. They won't. These Christians that still continue to defend Trump, they have actively chosen to embrace lies. Period. Whenever I go and look at the comment sections of many of these pastors' podcasts and stuff like that, because they're the ones that actively lied and deceived and pushed the narrative to their audience and congregation, you look at the Christians and the comments that they leave, they bend over backwards to defend Trump. And it's as simple as them choosing lies. That's what they want. They've chosen it. They have chosen to be lied to because the narrative is more important. The political paradigm is more important than the truth to these people. It's just a fact. This is not my opinion. This is not my observation. This is a fact. That stuff is more important. Defending Trump is more important than seeking the spirit of truth. Period. That's why I have no respect. It's not that I don't care about these people. I care about them. I don't want them to be in there, but I don't have any respect for their opinion or what they have to say because everything that they believe and everything that they put forward is based upon a lie. Why would I believe anything? Why would I have any respect for somebody's opinion that is based solely upon lies? It's the same thing. It's like when Biden was in office, everything that he said, I didn't respect anything he had to say because everything was based upon a lie. It's the same thing with Trump. Same thing with these Christians. It's like, that's why I don't trust any pastor that goes out there and continues to push a political idea, because if you can't even get the political stuff right, what are you getting wrong when it comes to the biblical teaching? Am I wrong in thinking that? I don't think I am. Because if you can't get that right, why would I trust what you have to say about the Bible? It's the same thing when it comes to the pastors that are so pro-Israel that they outright reject anything that puts them in a negative light. And they're the ones that, teach the Israel side of the Bible so hard. And it's like, if you can't properly decipher what's going on when it comes to modern day Israel, why on earth would I believe you're teaching when it comes to Old Testament Israel? I can't trust it. I can't. That's my perspective on it. That's why, again, I know there's some people in here that hate my rule about not promoting pastors and teachers and stuff in the chat because they follow these people. That's why I don't want that in here, because I don't want that name being put in chat. Some person who is just maybe coming to faith, picking it up and going and watching it and being led astray because of narrative propaganda teaching. It's like, I don't want that attributed to my live chat. And I know there's some of you guys that hate that rule. That's why I have the rule in place. It's exactly why I have that rule in place. So, all right. Grab some water, hydration break. I settle all the spring's tears. Can't let it get you down. You got to just understand that this is the times that the Lord told us were coming. We got to use that as encouragement, not as depression. I know it's hard. You got to try and see it from what the Lord has told us about these times. Especially hard when you have family members and friends and stuff that continue to fall for this stuff. But, yeah. All right. So that leads us to the last section of this national park situation. And it has to do with the border wall and National Bend Park, because we now have some information on who got the contract to do it. It says billions in border wall contracts are going to a Montana firm run by a Trump donor. Bernard Construction's leadership donated over $1 million to the president's campaign. They're among the administration's top wall contractors. So basically, this is just confirming things that we've established over and over and over and over and over and over again, that if you donate enough money to the Trump administration, they'll either pardon you, drop a federal investigation upon you, or that's based on you, or they'll hand you contracts if you give enough money to Trump. Bernard Construction Company, Inc., an engineering contractor based in Bozeman, Montana, recently celebrated its 50th year of business. Timeline offers highlights of the half-century since, from building a natural gas pipeline in Utah and a hydropower in Alaska to winning a federal government contract to bring down dams in Washington and increase spawning habitat for native salmon species. Oh, that all sounds pretty good. But what the website doesn't show are the company's largest federal contracts. The billions of taxpayer dollars Bernard has been awarded to build Trump's border wall. Also unmentioned are its founders' financial ties to the president. Trump made finishing the border wall a centerpiece of his 2024 campaign, and soon after he took office, the One Big Beautiful Bill Act allocated $46.5 billion, not million. Remember the wall that Mexico was supposed to pay for? No. Trump took $46.5 billion of your taxpayer money to build a wall. Now, I'm still sitting in the position where that wall is not to keep people out. That wall is going to be used to keep people in. But that's my perspective on it. The administration has since waived dozens of federal contracting laws to expedite construction, and more than $28 billion in contracts have been awarded to a small group of companies, according to Customs and Border Protection. Says a High Country News analysis of publicly available federal spending data finds Bernard is among the biggest winners. The company and its affiliates have been awarded more than $5.6 billion in federal border construction contracts since Trump returned to office. Add their previous border wall contracts and the total rises to more than $7 billion. So basically, Bernard contracting service here paid $1 million to Trump's campaign, and in return, Trump hands them a $5.6 billion contract. No bid contract. Yep. Meanwhile, Federal Election Commission records show that the company chairman, Tim Bernard, and his wife have contributed millions of dollars over the years to Republican candidates and causes, including more than $1 million to Trump's presidential campaigns. In May, another contractor sued the federal government after Customs and Border Protection promised the lion's share of New Texas and New Mexico wall construction contracts to Bernard and one other company. Now Bernard is facing criticism both at home and on the border as it prepares to begin construction in one of the least trafficked parts of the border. I went over this on Friday's Wretched Recap. It's like 1 point something percent of illegal immigrant catches in all of that region over there by Big Bend and the Rio Grande and everything. 1.6, that's it. And they're going to go and wreck all of it, shut down portions of the national park, block things off, destroy habitats, destroy the nature, destroy the history, to put a wall up, to block off 1%. It has received contracts from numerous federal agencies, including the National Park Service, the Forest Service, and the Bureau of Reclamation, but more than 80% of the value of its federal awards comes from the border wall contracts. Bernard received several under the first Trump administration. Before and after its leadership donated $5,600 to Trump's re-election campaign. FEC records show that Bernards have also donated to several Trump cabinet members, including J.D. Vance, Marco Rubio, and Ryan Zinke. Gets better. One award in particular generated controversy, and this is where the corruption comes in. An initial $142 million contract awarded to Bernard's subsidiary BFBC in 2019 grew to more than $1 billion as the administration quietly modified it over and over. The firm was promised $33 million per mile of wall for one section of construction, about $13 million more than the government's standard price. This is the corruption. Because this group, the Bernards group, is donors and they have an in with Trump, the Trump administration handed them a $142 million contract that they quietly, illegally modified it over and over and over again to increase it to $1 billion. They did this because it doesn't make them go and start collecting bids from other companies. They just continued to modify a current contract so they can continue to hand over more and more money to Trump's donor family. Then on top of that, the Trump administration is paying this company $13 million more than the standard government price for each section of the wall. In case you don't know what that means, that's a little thing called money laundering. That's what that is. That's money laundering. To overpay like that from the standard price is because you are laundering money through this project. This is the corruption. Rhode Island Senator Jack Reed called for an investigation into the contract, calling it a no-bid contract to an apparently politically connected private contractor, and a Government Accountability Office report the following year advised that the Army Corps to rethink its procurement strategy. But neither the company nor the administration seem to have deterred. In 2024, FEC records show that the Bernards donated $1 million to a fundraising committee for Trump's presidential campaign and $3,300 to a Trump political action committee. Federal spending records indicate that the company has since received $4.54 billion in awards from Border Patrol, plus more than $260 million in the Department of Defense wall contracts to subsidiary BFBC. That's in addition to $853 million in contracts to Bernard Spencer joint venture, Bernard's collaboration with the Arizona-based contractor Spencer Construction, which have grown by more than $75 million since they were awarded the contract in September. Finishing this off, on May 13th, New York-based contractor Posilico Civil Inc. sued the Trump administration, saying Border Patrol had promised around 73% of the value of the new Texas wall contracts to just 2 of 11 pre-approved contractors, Bernard and North Dakota-based firm Fisher Sand and Gravel. If you guys don't know, it's illegal for the government to do that. Fisher is known for its controversial work to build a private border wall and financial ties to We Build the Wall, a scandal-ridden nonprofit whose board included Trump strategist Steve Bannon. Would you look at that? The federal spending database lists nearly $15 billion in border construction contracts to the company over the years, including more than $13 billion under this administration. This is a good indicator when it comes to destroying the national parks, corruption and illegal money laundering happening through politically motivated no-bid contracts, modifying contracts to make sure nobody else gets any other deals, and it goes to the people that he's made private donation contracts with, like mafia style and everything. This is just another one of those things that reveals it all. And it all has to do with the fact that he's taking all of the national park money and he's putting it towards his little pet DC projects. And I mean, it's just wrecking everything. Just wrecking everything. Oh, man. Again, it's one of those things where if you are a Christian and you're watching this and you're still going to bat for this government, for this administration, for Trump himself, you are still trying so hard to defend him, saying everything coming out is all lies. Lies, just everything showing the corruption of this administration is all lies. And you're still telling yourself that. I beg you, stop embracing lies. Stop following Satan's deception. Seek the truth. You tell yourself you're seeking the truth. That's why you say that they're all lies. But all you're doing is you're telling yourself, you're lying to yourself in order to continue to believe the lies. Let go of this stuff. Let go of this stuff. Because this isn't a case of deception anymore. Deception is something that's supposed to be sneaky, subtle, that prods you in a wrong direction. This stuff is just so blatantly obvious now. It is. It's so obvious. Again, it's the same thing when you see the Christians. The deception is what the Democrats are doing. That's not deception. That's so obvious. The deception is everything that's sneaking in underneath the guise of the Democrats that you continue to believe. Like Trump being a good guy. And all these things like that. Again, we are called to be watchmen. What good are we doing? How are we good at our jobs if we are not even sounding the alarm, but actively opening the gate up for our enemies to walk in? Because when you continue to believe this stuff about Trump and the administration and the U.S. government as a whole, you are opening the gate for the enemy to walk in. Don't be that person. Don't be that person. Yeah, Jack, I'm with you on that. National parks, the Native American stuff, the Indian stuff, the dig sites and the artifacts and everything. That's huge. history. It's of this country. Again, we need to at least recognize, it's not something that you need to necessarily stew on, but you need to recognize that there was a lot of stuff going on in this land here before it became the United States. There's a lot of history there. And again, it's one of those things where whether you like the history or not, again, there's some people that, oh, Native American history, that's just DEI stuff. No, it's history itself. It's like it's the same thing when you go and study history with Israel or study Israel with Samaria, history with Egypt and stuff like that. It's history. Whether you agree with it or not, it's history. And shouldn't we want to preserve that? I do. Yeah. Okay. So this next part, this is just going to be kind of a boom, boom, boom type of thing. We don't need to spend too much time on it, but it is something that I do want to put out for us to keep. At this point, we need 1,000 eyes in order to keep an eye on everything going on. But you guys catch my drift. We need to be aware of this at least. Is the fact that, and I've kind of been talking about this for the on and off for the past few months, is the fact of local government is basically waging a war against its citizens in any way, shape, or form, introducing, the globalist surveillance stuff, introducing big tech, silencing people's opinions, altering government structure in order to make sure that people don't have a voice and don't listen and stuff like that. Because you guys know my perspective. You go back a couple years and I was a proponent that we still had a voice when it came to local stuff, things like mayor, city council and stuff like that. But you guys know after watching this stuff and everything, I've changed my tune. And I don't believe that we even have a voice at the local level anymore. I think they've done a really good job of shutting it down from top to bottom. I think they've done a really good job on that. And one of the things that we do have it coming up, of course, is the midterm stuff. And you guys, again, know me. You guys know that when it comes to voting and stuff like that, it means nothing. You're just giving consent to satanic order on it. However, they still use the theatrics of it in order to move and manipulate society and alter things in the country. And so there's definitely some stuff happening in regards to this. And one of the things that we start with is this, which almost every day, there's something coming out, whether it's Democrat or Republican, doesn't matter. Every day there's something coming out of somebody doing something like this. And it's just, and I can't even begin. Every week, not even exaggerating. I don't talk about it because it would just get monotonous. But every week, I kid you not, a new Republican political chairman is getting arrested for child sexual abuse. I'm not even making it up. This has been going on for the past 7-8 months. Every week, there's a new political Republican chairman getting caught. Child pornography, child abuse, something like that. It's insane. Again, this is supposed to be the Christian conservative side of things, right? No, they're all rhinos. All those people are rhinos. Yeah. Yeah, this is what I'm talking about when I say that they're all pedophiles. It's crazy. GOP elections official arrested for siphoning thousands in public funds. Says Geneva County Circuit Clerk Ashley Powell has been charged with violating the state's ethics laws by using her office for personal gain. AL.com reports the indictment alleges Powell, 52, illegally paid herself more than $93,000 out of public funds. Class B felony. If convicted, Powell would face up to 20 years in prison. Investigators say Powell shattered the public trust by using her official position for personal gain when she illegally routed public funds directly to herself. Her arrest was expected as Powell has been barred from office months ago. In 2023, Judicial Circuit Chief Judge William Fillmore appointed Powell to fill out the remainder of the term for the former Geneva County Circuit Clerk Gail Lay. Powell told WDHN that she planned to run for Geneva County Circuit Clerk as a Republican in 2024 election. Alabama WTVY News Channel 4 reported another potential issue could be Powell in her job as a clerk, considering she serves an important role in the election process, especially with elections only a few months away. State officials barred Powell from her courthouse duties in March after initial audits flagged missing local accounts. Many Republican voters in the South and in red states are feeling less passionate about elections, particularly with Trump's plummeting poll numbers. Again, poll numbers, whatever. Voter discontent with his policies. Trump's war on Iran is dragging on and blasting fuel and grocery prices higher as the nation slides into the midterms. The steady drumbeat of Trump's corruption appears to be contributing to the party's general malaise. And this is just another thing, and I want to use this as an example when it comes to the fact that people still put faith in elections. Why do we put faith in elections when every single day, again, doesn't matter if it's left or right, Democrat, Republican, it doesn't matter. There's somebody getting caught doing something shifty in the election and polling areas of things. All these people continue to try and manipulate and alter these things. And yet, for some reason, we continue to have people just get out there and vote harder. That's all you got to do. Just go and vote harder. What does that mean? Do I push the button on the Dominion thing harder when I'm voting? Like, what does that mean? Again, this is another thing where you are just embracing an illusion. You are not facing reality when it comes to this, because this is what it is. People put faith in this system. They believe that this system is real. They believe that you are actually making a decision to alter the trajectory of this country. When every single day there is a new report of somebody involved with elections doing something like this, and you're telling me that I am disobeying God by not putting faith in this? Again, I don't trust anything you have to say about the Bible if you tell me that I am disobeying God by not putting faith in this. You need to step down, Pastor. Well, in some of these cases, these pastors are stepping down from their churches because they realize that they can make more money by doing podcasts. That's a conversation for a different day. Which leads us to this. This was today. Trump refuses to rule out national security emergency over 2026 elections. That's right. Trump has basically said, weirder things have happened. Trump did not dismiss a suggestion from a conservative host, Wayne Allen Root, to declare a national security emergency to bypass Congress on election security measures. When asked about declaring an emergency to force new voting rules before the midterms, Trump cryptically responded that stranger things have happened. But it's okay for him to do it because it's Trump. It's okay for him to do it. Just like it's okay for him to fall asleep in the Oval Office every single meeting. But when Biden does it, he's Sleepy Joe. So we can call out when Biden falls asleep at his desk. But when Trump does it, no, different story. We're not going to mention that. When Trump has a habit of literally crapping his pants. So it's a problem when Biden does it, but when Trump does it, no, it's all good. When Biden goes against the Constitution, it's a major problem, and we have our hair on fire. But when Trump not only lights the Constitution on fire, but then stomps on it, no, don't worry. He has to destroy the Constitution in order to save the Constitution. See, in case you guys don't know, that's how the Christian perspective should be when it comes to politics. When it's Trump, everything he does is good. Any issues with the Trump administration is because somebody around him was telling him something bad. Just like I watched, I didn't watch it, but I clicked on it just so I could look at the comments of, it was a podcast talking about the Fauci stuff going on, which, by the way, if you guys don't know, we haven't talked about that because it's a distraction. We know who Fauci is. We know what he did. Why do we need to talk about pleading the fifth in the diary? It makes no point. But still, people talked about, there's Christians in the comments leaving things on there saying, well, yeah, Fauci, he was the one that lied and pulled one over on Trump and everything like that. Interesting when Trump himself not only gave Fauci an award, but Trump also came out and said that he was the father of the vax, and it was because of him and his expediting the vax that they actually saved more lives and stuff like that. So all of that was Fauci's fault too, even though Trump was the one saying it. That was all Fauci's fault too. Okay. So again, you're going to take on the moniker that Trump is too stupid to figure out who is bad around him and giving him bad information, but he's so smart that he's actually saving this country. Okay. When you get a chance, can you explain that logic to me like I'm 5? Because I'm not seeing the logic there. Do you see what I mean? This is what I'm talking about when bending over backwards to defend a politician as opposed to seeking the truth. See, when you go and continue to run cover for Trump and embrace the lies, you are not going with what God has called you to be. You are continuing to pursue lies and deception and falsities because it makes you feel comfortable. And then you lie to yourself again saying that, oh, I'm doing what the Lord wants me to do. And it's like, no, you're not. No, you're not. It's, some people might think I sound harsh on it, but this is just the reality of the situation. So we have this as well. Chaos erupts as Texas County moves to slash polling sites. This has to go with, the fact of when it comes to this election system, when it comes to the local communities, the local governments waging war on their communities and everything. It says chaos unfolded at the Tarrant County Commissioner's Court on Tuesday as local officials prepared to vote on a proposal that would reduce the number of polling locations ahead of the November election. As part of the Tarrant County Commissioner's Court meeting today, officials will vote on a proposal to reduce the number of Election Day polling places from 316 to 176, roughly a 44% decrease. Early voting locations would also be cut from 50 to 42. Tensions escalated a few hours into meeting when County Judge Tim O'Hare cleared the room after a speaker criticized how Commissioner's Court was generally conducted. You keep telling us not to California my Texas, while in reality you keep Russia my Texas. Yeah. O'Hare then cut off the woman's public comment as another attendee in the audience held up a sign reading, "We will vote you out." That's it, O'Hare said. We're going to clear the entire chambers now. You'll get your 10 seconds left. I told you how it was going to go, so in recess until the chambers are cleared. The court went into recess as the crowd chanted, "Shame, shame, shame." O'Hare was also instructed security to remove one man from the building, remove them all. This is not a one-off situation. This is also something that's happening almost every single week. I'm seeing a report from some local community like this. And these are just the ones that I'm seeing where this is happening, where people are voicing their opinions during the public comment section. And people are either getting shut down, they're outright canceling the meeting. People are getting arrested for saying what they're doing, whether it's data centers, whether it's polling stuff, whether it's any of this stuff. And the local communities are shutting down, or the local governments are shutting down people. This is, again, what I'm talking about when it comes to the voice at the local level is being removed. It's being taken away. It's going away. And it's just getting worse. This former state representative Lon Berman was carried out from Tuesday's meeting by 4 sheriff deputies, according to the Fort Worth Report. Deputies told Burnham he was under arrest. During the public comment period, Burnham showed up, picked up the microphone, and briefly turned around to face the audience. O'Hare instructed Burnham to set the microphone down. You're disrupting the meeting again, O'Hare said. I have asked you to set the microphone down. Please remove him. We will go into recess. Your First Amendment right. Gone. That's what this is. People don't recognize it, but this is removing the First Amendment right. This is destroying it. And we know that this government is piece by piece dismantling each section of the First Amendment. And this is part of it. And you can see dude was arrested. Then they're doing stuff like this. Bastrop City Council holds meetings over 100 miles away. The City Council meeting of Bastrop, over here, all the way on the far right, supposed to be a meeting about that area for Bastrop, held their community meeting over 108 miles away in a completely different city. Basically saying all the people of Bastrop, unless you're going to drive over 2 hours, over 100 miles to go to a meeting, you have no voice in regards to it. State Representative Stan Gerd said he will file legislation requiring city councils to meet within the cities they represent after the Bastrop City Council held a 2-day workshop more than 100 miles away in Fredericksburg. The city of Bastrop is holding a city council meeting hours away in Fredericksburg, making it nearly impossible for the people they represent to attend and participate. Gerds pointed to the substance of the council's agenda, which included the city budget, setting the tax rate, capital projects, transportation planning, water and wastewater needs, data center policy, legislative priorities, and flock camera technologies. They were addressing all of that for the city of Bastrop in a city over 100 miles away. The Bastrop City Council scheduled offsite workshops in Fredericksburg for Thursday and Friday. Both agendas included a citizen comment period. But that was pretty quiet. Those unable to attend could submit written comments online at least 2 hours before the meeting, though the comments will be provided to city council members rather than read aloud. And you know, not one of those things will ever get read by one of the city council members. You know it. You know that they won't even touch those. They won't even know that people wrote in because they don't care. If they cared, they wouldn't hold this 100 miles away. But again, this is what is happening when it comes to this. This is happening everywhere. This is Texas. Supposedly one of the free states. How about this one? City that arrested person for clapping at data center meeting moves to virtual meetings for public safety. I hope people are going to start realizing what's happening. Again, I got to put this forward. There's so much focus. There's so much focus being put on what's going on when it comes to Democrat cities and the supposed Muslim invasion and everything like that that's happening in this country, that there's so much focus on immigration, Democrat cities, and Muslims that while all of that is happening and the spotlight is just shining bright on all those topics, underneath it all, the real damage is being done with this stuff. Nobody's talking about these things, these local governments and how they're changing the game with all of this. I'm giving some examples here because this is the massive wave that's sweeping across the entire country underneath the spotlight of those three things that I talked about before. Everybody and their grandma is talking about those three things. Underneath it all, the local governments are cutting off the legs of the communities. And nobody has any idea because they're all focused on the outside enemy as opposed to what's happening on the inside. It's I don't know, man. I don't know. It's a city that arrested person for clapping a data center meeting moves to virtual meetings for public safety. It says the small town that arrested a person who clapped during a city council meeting about a hyperscale data center held its meeting on Wednesday virtually and had no public comment period in the name of public safety. It says it will do the same for another meeting later this month. The city Emporia, Kansas, announced the change just 2 days before the meeting. In the interest of public safety, Emporia City Commission meetings scheduled for Wednesday, August 5th and Wednesday, August 19th will be conducted virtually. No public comment period will be provided during either meeting. Emporia's police chief told KVO News that city leaders had received death threats. And when asked to provide evidence of the death threats, neither the police nor the city council agreed to show evidence of the death threats, which means we're just supposed to take their word for it. Okay. Citizens upset about the data center are no longer allowed to make a public comment gathered outside Emporia's municipal auditorium to protest on Wednesday. The commissioners voted unanimously to get our petition on the ballot measure to ban high-impact data centers to a judge. They said that doing otherwise would open up the city to a lawsuit, but didn't really elaborate on who, why, or how. They said, essentially, what they're saying is, we're not even going to debate this. We're just going to pass it on to a judge so we don't get sued. That's what the city council said. So we're not going to do our jobs. We're going to pass the bucket over to the judge just so we don't get sued. That's what's going on. Some citizens in Emporia are upset about a proposed gigawatt data center called the Flint Hills Digital Campus that would sit on 1,000 acres of prairie land. Zoning and city commission meetings have been held about the project, during which citizens have pushed back during the public comment period of meetings. During a July 2022 meeting, a city leader ordered Claridge to be arrested for clapping. Police charged Claridge with disorderly conduct and interference with police for clapping in a city council meeting. Says, I would like to see it go to the courts. That way it's an outside decision so that we don't get ourselves entangled in something that could come back later and we'd be sued over, Emporia Mayor Becky Smith said. Yeah, just all it does is remind me of this. Me waiting for my city to fix the potholes as they install 200 new flock cameras to track me. Because that's really what's going on, is these city councils, just like the United States government, is continuing to take money from projects that actually benefit the people that they're supposed to be, quote unquote, serving, and they're just funneling it towards things like this. It's amazing because it's just, I saw a video. I think it was somewhere in Philadelphia. I don't have the video to show you. You can find it though. Somewhere in Philadelphia. I think it's Philadelphia. Where somebody cut a flock camera down, and the local police brought the forensics team out to investigate who cut the flock camera down. That your money is financing a forensics team to inspect a metal pole with a camera on it that somebody cut down. Kid you not. They had the police forensic shirt and everything. But yet, you got people out there murdering people and whatnot, and no big deal. You got potholes that are just everywhere. You should take a look at our city streets here in Corpus. And what are they doing? The city council went and approved putting flock cameras up as opposed to fixing some of the potholes in this town that you could park a Volkswagen in. And this is happening everywhere because the local governments are not there to actually benefit you or the city that you live in. They're there to now start installing the neo-feudalistic technocracy system at a local level. And so that also includes Flock's FreeForm AI system, which searches for people, not cars. You know how we're told that Flock is there for cars and license plates? No, they have an entire system that's there to record people as well. And keep in mind, I've talked about how Flock has cameras pointed at children's gyms and swimming pools. That's right. Flock is recording your child, 3, 2, 3, 4 years old, in their bathing suit, recording them, and then sharing that video with future customers. It's pointed at preschool playgrounds, biking trails, children's parks, basketball courts. Yeah. Recording children. And again, the Luciferian government system is nothing but pedophiles. I wonder what they're doing with all that information. Flock's FreeForm AI launched in February of 2025, and Flock describes it as an AI-powered natural language search across the company's combined network of automated license plate reader cameras and its new Condor video cameras. An officer types a description into a search bar, and the system's image recognition scans the requested footage for matches, returning a curated set of clips the algorithm believes are relevant. The marketing pitch to cities has consistently been stolen cars and missing children. The actual use case in the records that 404 Media obtained is broader. Searches by clothing, tattoos, body type, race, gender, perceived political affiliation, and activity. Yes, you were told that Flock is there just to scan your license plate. However, they have an entire AI system, and these cameras scan more than license plates. So if you search for anybody, you just type in person with, black shirt and a Republican bumper sticker on car. It'll bring up all of the videos of somebody wearing a black shirt in a car that has a Republican bumper sticker. You don't think that this isn't going to be used to hunt down specific people? Yeah. Keep in mind, NSPM 7. Yep. The audit logs 404 Media reviewed include a text prompt field that captures the search description. The fields read like suspect write-ups, not plate numbers. Examples pulled directly from the records include heavy-set male with a black and white hat, person on skateboard, person wearing orange vest and construction hat, black sweatshirt, blue jeans, boots with white paint stains, possibly carrying a black helmet, female with Ugg boots, and a male on foot. One description is a near racial profiling template, white male about 6 feet 1 inches tall, longer brown hair. This is your total surveillance system. For those who keep saying, we're turning into China, we're turning into China, we're turning into China. No, we're not. We're already here. That's what this system's for. And it's not just Flock. Axon has got the same thing. Carbine got the same thing. Clearview AI has got the same thing. So whenever you hear somebody say, oh yeah, we're getting closer to being like China, no, correct them and say, nope, we're already there. And you add this in conjunction with the NSPM 7, we're so close to them just finding anybody that they want to and taking them down. We're right there. Freeform queries do not stay inside one department. The records 404 Media reviewed showed officers pulling footage across dozens of networks in a single search. Dunwoody, Georgia police ran queries across 9 Flock networks. Pocatello, Idaho police ran searches against 38 cameras. Milford, Connecticut used more than 100 cameras for individual queries. The California Highway Patrol ran a single gray shirt search across 274 cameras. The Texas Department of Public Safety ran searches against 96 networks. Again, remember when they accessed the networks of not only Texas flock cameras, but other states' flock cameras to track down that abortion chick? Yeah. And Arundel, I think it was it, and Arundel County, Maryland, police pulled footage across 198 networks in a single quarry. In a statement to 404 Media, Flock said FreeForm is designed to help investigators quickly search through large amounts of footage and is not facial recognition. Flock also claims FreeForm blocks queries for race, ethnicity, religion, nationality, and sends an alert to the agency administrator when a scrutinized query triggers that filter. Well, you know that that's completely false because they have a contract with ICE in order to hunt down illegals. So saying race, ethnicity, religion, and nationality is not applied is completely false because that's exactly why they signed a contract with ICE. The audit log evidence reviewed by 404 Media suggests those guardrails fire constantly. The descriptions captured in the records include explicit racial and political affiliation prompts. Flock did not say what happens to an officer after the admin alert fires. The records show that the searches still ran. So basically it pops up with a admin alert saying somebody searched for one of those things, but then the AI finds the search stuff anyways and sends it. So it doesn't really matter. The natural language interference does not require facial recognition to enable people tracking. A description of clothing, body type, race, gender, height, tattoos, political belief is enough for a human reviewer to identify a candidate, and that is the workflow that the audit log documents. Ooh, doggy. We're here. We are here. And to finish this all off, when it comes to the AI situation, now keep in mind, we're told that all these internet bills are here to protect kids. Meanwhile, Meta is serving up ads containing AI-generated child sexual abuse content, continuing for years and making money off of it. Meta's own ad library hosted child abuse imagery for 9 months straight, making money off of all of it. Meta's ad platform did something it has promised repeatedly never to allow again. According to a new investigation from Wired, Meta ran dozens of paid ads over the past 9 months containing explicit AI-generated child sexual abuse imagery, some of which stayed live even after the company was directly confronted about them. That's right. They knew what it was, and they kept it on, making money off of this. If this feels like a story you've read before, that's because you probably have. Just weeks before the latest report, a separate BBC investigation found Instagram running paid ads promoting child sexual abuse material in India, directing users to Telegram channels selling illegal content. Researchers at the Tech Transparency Project uncovered the ads sitting inside Meta's own public ad library, a tool that the company built specifically for advertising transparency. The ads ran between November 25th and early August 2026. That is a long time, reaching people in the United States, the United Kingdom, and more than a dozen European countries, with at least one ad reaching over 2,500 accounts across Europe alone. TTP director Katie Paul told Wired that the images made no attempt to disguise what they were promoting, stressing that these weren't posts slipping through from outside users, but ads that Meta itself reviewed and approved before collecting ad revenue from them. Yes, this isn't content that people were posting on Facebook. No. These were ads that people paid to have on Meta platforms that Meta reviewed and approved. Several ads linked directly to nudifying apps, including one called Mask AI, which Apple removed from its App Store after Wired flagged it. In a particularly troubling detail, researchers initially found roughly 24 violating ads, but discovered around 30 more in the hours right before publication, several of which have gone live only after Wired had already asked Meta about the problem. Meta's relationship with child safety failure goes back much further than this week. As far back as 2017, Facebook was already handling more than 50,000 cases of revenge porn and sexual abuse reports every month. See, this is another one of those situations where you've got these Luciferian technocrats that are approving and making money off of this AI-generated child exploitation. But then you also have the sick, twisted, sinful man that's creating this stuff in the first place to post it out there. Again, this is one of those situations where this is fallen man, sinful, twisted, fallen man that equates to the digital version of the days of Noah and Sodom and Gomorrah. That's not only being created and shared in the first place, but is actively being approved to be advertised to people on these platforms. Now, for the people that still make the argument that, oh, we're not even close to the days of Lot or the days of Noah, we haven't reached that level before. I'm sorry, but you speak with ignorance. As somebody who unfortunately did a dive into that whole side of things and got to the point where I was so uncomfortable, I said, I've seen enough, I'm done. I can only imagine what else is going on. I don't even want to imagine it. But this is the very, I can tell you, this is the tip of the iceberg, the very tip top of the iceberg. And that's that. And it gets so much worse. Again, the world's networks of trafficking, of homosexuality, of child exploitation. I don't even want to think about it. It's that big. Some people want to just go down, oh, it's just the Epstein files. It's like, man, that's not even close to the half of it. And again, there's some places like the biggest child trafficking and child organ harvesting country in the world has laws designed to protect people who get caught doing it. Ukraine. And a lot of people don't realize that. Ukraine. They literally have laws protecting child trafficking and child organ harvesting because they're the hub of the world. You know who the two biggest proprietors of pornography in the world are? You know where they're located? Czechoslovakia and Israel. Yep. I think Tel Aviv has also taken over being the number one pride city in the world too. I think they took that over, or at least they're in the top two. You know what? You want to know what the number one quote unquote career in the United States is now for women? OnlyFans. Yeah. This is the fallen world that we live in. We have entered the digital days of Noah, the digital days of Lot. Yeah. This is, as hard as it might be when you hear this stuff for the first time, be encouraged. Because if we have entered this territory and we are living in these days again, means we're getting closer being taken out so God can unleash judgment upon this earth. And I don't know about you guys, but this earth needs judgment that only God can issue. But it's one of those things where if you don't have faith in Christ, if you don't have your name written in the book of life, if your soul is not in the hands of God, then you will be caught up in that judgment. Don't be caught up in the judgment. And there's only one way. There's only one way, and that's through Jesus Christ and through his gospel, which is as simple as ABC. A is you admit that you're a sinner. The act of repentance, metanoia, turning from self to Christ. It's one of those things where some people like to take that out of the equation, but my question is, how can you believe in Jesus Christ as your Savior if you first don't recognize why you need him? That's why the repentance is so important, because it's that first establishment of, I'm sinful and I need Jesus Christ to save me. And that allows you to truly believe in Christ Jesus as your Savior. So you repent and then you believe Jesus Christ is the one and only begotten Son of God. That he came down 100% man, 100% God, the God-man, the one and only. And he lived the perfect, sinless life. The one and only to do so, which means he was the only one qualified to carry the sins of the world upon his shoulders to the cross, where he took our place, my place, upon that cross. And he was crucified and he died. Now, if the story ends there, we're toast. But it doesn't. Because Jesus Christ, through the power of his spilled blood, defeated death and rose again on the third day. For all who believe in him shall not perish but live forever in his presence and in his glory. The glory is his because he's the one who defeated death. He's the one that provides life. And he gives it freely to anyone who places their faith in Christ and places their belief in Christ. And see, as we call upon the Lord, we are given a gift of prayer, a supernatural gift. That I'll be the first to admit, I don't use as much as I should. And I think we can all determine that we don't use it as much as we should. But we get to pray directly to our Father. We get to go into the presence of our Father and speak directly to him at any moment of any day. We can say, God, thank you for sending your Son, Jesus Christ, to be the perfect, spotless Lamb, the ultimate willing sacrifice to defeat death so that I may live. God, we ask, Lord, please help us to get out of our own way. Help us to avoid the deception, to not embrace lies, but to seek the truth so that we can do our jobs as watchmen better, so we can get out there and share the gospel of your Son, Jesus Christ, to as many people as we can. And we ask, Lord Jesus, that you please come soon. Maranatha. In your holy name that we pray. Amen. Amen. All right. What do we got for questions? Just one. Barbecue Chip question. Can flock cameras see through tinted windows? Yes, they can. They have these lenses that are able to cut through your standard tint. Maybe somebody has come out with some type of thing that you can put in there that'll block it out. I don't know of that. Maybe, I'm sure somebody has created that. But your standard tint job on a window, yes, these flock cameras are built so they can see through that stuff. So, yeah. Can't hide, man. Can't hide. So. All right. Looks like that's all the questions we have. Yeah. So let's just go ahead. Usual spiel. If you guys can, like, share, subscribe. Get this out to as many people as you can. It's not about views, not about butts and seats, but it is about getting the warning out to people and getting people to Jesus. So please do me a solid and like, share, subscribe, especially right now with YouTube really hitting my channel hard and hiding it from a lot of people. So the only way to get it out there is to share it. So please help me out there. Follow along on Rumble and Telegram as well. Those are my backup channels. If I get booted off YouTube, we'll be backup live streaming over on Rumble. Telegram, post updates, announcements, and other little things that I can't necessarily put in video format. I put it up on Telegram as well. So feel free to follow along on there. Best place to stay up to date, though, of course, is the WretchedWatchmen.com website. That's your one-stop shop to stay up to date on everything happening in the Wretched Watchmen world of things. You'll find the latest podcasts and live streams. You'll find the announcement page. You'll find the free book to download. And then you'll find the Prayer Bears prayer request box as well that was just added on there. So if you have a prayer request, you can put that in the box. And then each Monday I post our prayer request list on Telegram and YouTube. So if you have a prayer request, go ahead and put it in the box. And then that'll get sent directly to me and I can add you to the list. And then last but not least, if you guys like to support this channel, what I got going on, I got donation links down below. CashApp, Venmo, and GiveSendGo. Again, this channel is not monetized. I don't make anything from ads, views, or anything like that. We don't monetize. We don't sell anything. We don't do paywalls, subscriptions, memberships, any of that type of stuff. This entire ministry is run off of your guys' generous donations and love offerings. So if you want to help support this channel and keep it going and do what we do, those links are below. Thank you guys for those who donate and for those who pray. And you guys are just awesome. I thank the Lord for all of you guys. So, all right, y'all, that's it. Thank you for joining me today. Have a great week. Continue to seek the truth above all and utilize that in order to share the gospel with those who need the hope that only Jesus Christ can provide. Otherwise, I'll see you guys next time. Peace out. Maranatha.
You're still here? It's over. Go home. Go.